Thank you for watching NMH at 1, where we highlight the news making headlines in the land of the brave and beyond, ranging from current affairs, community stories, sports, and economic news. I am Aina Koyo, and here are the news making headlines. Thousands apply for Namandje student support. Deb Marine Namibia donates to Elua School. Dozens killed in barbaric Burkina Faso attacks. The Namibian Professional Hunting Association says it has now received a letter from the Namibian police that will hopefully facilitate the process for international hunters to register their hunting firearms with the airlines when they come to hunt in Namibia. NAPA says this following numerous requests that they have received to assist with temporary import permits for the hunting firearms of international or overseas hunters who allegedly experience challenges in registering their hunting firearms with airlines in their country of origin. Now, please do remember to engage with these stories on our social media throughout the entire broadcast. Visual news coming up after the break.
My.NA Property Show provides viewers with the best in-class content, engaging interviews, as well as a showcase of the latest property-related products and services. If you would like to feature your brand or your campaign on this platform, contact My.NA at synergy.com.na. My.NA Properties, more than just a roof over your head.
In visual news this afternoon, Deb Marine Namibia recently handed over learning equipment at Ongwediva Elua Resource School. Deb Marine Namibia handed over equipment which include paints, computers, television, fencing material, teaching aids, science equipment, printers, and stationery, all worth 300,000 Namibian dollars. Oshana Deputy Director of Education Hilma Nunyango George thanked Deb Marine for their donation.
Not have the words to say thank you or appreciate Deb Marine. The hearing impaired unit under Ms. Nangolo have 194 learners. The visual impaired under the leadership of Ms. Nugonya have 128 learners. And our newly established, the intellectual unit under the leadership of Ms. Nangobe have 59 learners. As the Ministry of Education, we have the mandate to provide quality education to all our learners, to all our children, regardless of their ability or disability. When the intellectual impairment unit opened last year, that was just in the middle of year 2022, we could not absorb, we could not admit all the learners who applied to be admitted to this intellectual unit, because we did not have enough resources, we did not have enough facilities to accommodate all our learners who applied to this unit.
The Sister Namandje Foundation said that it will be offering financial support to 13 students. Sister Namandje, the director of the foundation, who is also a lawyer, stated that selecting only 13 individuals from almost 3,000 applicants was a challenging task. Additionally, the foundation will extend other essential benefits such as food and transport allowance to selected beneficiaries. Elizabeth Joseph reports.
And the team, I know how difficult it is to make these selections. As she said, about 300 applications, and all of them, I have read some of them, all of them are heartbreaking stories, all of them. And it is quite very difficult to select sometimes, and maybe at some point you think maybe I can start giving each one 1,000, because some of the students simply need tax money. Some of the students don't have food at home when they come back from studies. It's quite difficult, and I just want to highlight the fact that apart from the donations that we make formally through the foundation, almost on a daily basis here, get students from NAST, from IUM, from UNAM, and all over the countries, and giving out the smallest we can give to all these kids. And of course, there was a requirement that people must be the well-performing students, and we are doing that so that we motivate people that your difficult circumstances must not make it difficult for you to excel. But
Samsung is to cut chip production after profits plunge 96%. An update on this story follows in our economic news segment.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go! We Talk brings you community news that lies at the heart of Windhoek residents. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact wetalk@synergy.com.na. You live, we talk.
In economic news this afternoon, Samsung Electronics will cut memory chip production after estimating a 96% drop in its quarterly operating profit. The chip-making giant said sales has dropped sharply due to a slow global economy and less demand after COVID. Samsung said preliminary numbers showed operating profits fell from 600 billion won in January to March from 14 trillion won in the previous year. The firm shares rose more than 4% despite a decision to slow chip making. We are lowering the production of memory chips by a meaningful level, especially that of a products with supply secured, the South Korean tech giant said. Demand for memory chips ramped up during COVID-induced lockdowns as consumers bought new electronics to use at home. Now, the industry is now recovering from a chip shortage over the past couple of years, but many semiconductor manufacturers are struggling to find a balance between their inventories and the current demand. Analysts says the company's announcement of a production cut is rare. Last month, it announced plans to invest 300 trillion won over 20 years to develop a mega semiconductor hub in South Korea. Samsung faces a double unpleasant memory chip, losing money and needing to update the process technology their factory used due to falling behind over the last couple of years, said Dalen Patel, the chief analyst at Semi Analysis. Now we take a look at our economic indicators. $1 will cost you 80 Namibian dollars and 28 cents, while 1 British pound translates to 22 Namibian dollars and 68 cents. No movement on the Namibia Stock Exchange as prices remain unchanged. Overall index has closed 1.25% higher than the previous closing prices, while stock prices remain unchanged. Copper and Brent crude oil both increased in price, while gold prices have dropped by 0.44%. Dozens killed in barbaric Burkina Faso attacks. We get into this after the break.
Straight Talk is a debate competition for high school learners and a spelling competition for primary school learners, mostly focusing on current affairs among the youth. Contact Zone at synergy.com.na to share your products and services. Straight Talk. Don't raise your voice, improve your argument.
Some 44 people have been killed after 2 deadly attacks in northern Burkina Faso on Thursday. Officials have said the twin attacks happened in the villages near the Sahel region near the Niger border. No group has admitted to carrying out the attacks, but jihadist violence is common in the area and officials have blamed armed terrorist groups. Militant groups linked to Al-Qaeda and Islamic State are known to be operating in the region. The Lieutenant Governor of the Sahel region, Rodolphe Soho, said the assailants behind the despicable and barbaric attacks had been put out of action. The other villagers were reportedly injured in the attacks, but it is unclear how many. Soho said action to stabilize the area are underway. One resident told AFP news agency that a large number of terrorists burst into the village and that he had gunfire all night long. It was on Friday morning that we saw that there were several dozens dead, he said. AFP has also reported that the killings were in retaliation of the lynching of 2 jihadists who had tried to steal cattle a few days ago. Now, Thursday night's killings happened close to the village in Sengeta, where dozens of people were killed last June. Moving on to our next story. South Africa's bid to have 2 brothers from the wealthy Gupta family extradited from the United Arab Emirates have failed. Atul and Rajesh Gupta are accused in South Africa of profiting from their close links with former President Jacob Zuma and exerting unfair influence. The Justice Ministry said it had learned with shock and dismay about the move. The brothers, who deny any wrongdoing, fled after a judicial commission began probing a major corruption scandal. The Indian Gupta-born were arrested in the United Arab Emirates last June, and extradition talks with South Africa began, but the United Arab Emirates said it had turned down the extradition request on technicality. In a brief statement quoted in the Emirates news agency, it said that a review found that the request did not meet the strict standards for legal documentation as outlined in the extradition agreement between the United Arab Emirates and South Africa that comes into force 2 years ago. Now, some of the paperwork was either incorrect in the case of fraud charge or missing in the case of corruption charge, the statement adds. Now, the decision was made in February, but it was only communicated to South Africa on Thursday. South African Justice Minister Ronald Lamola said the reasons provided for denying our request are inexplicable and fly in the face of the assurance given by the Emirati authorities that our request meets their requirements. Now we move over to our next story. The military tribunal in the Democratic Republic of Congo has sentenced 6 men to prison for murdering Italy's ambassador in February 2021. Luca Anastasio was among 3 people shot dead after a UN convoy that has been traveling with has been ambushed. His driver was killed first, then his bodyguard were kidnapped, dying after a rescue operation went wrong. It happened in the troubled east of the country, where many armed groups operate. They were traveling on the road through the Virunga National Park, a UNESCO heritage site south of the city of Goma, to visit a UN World Food Program feeding initiative when the attack happened. 5 of the 6 accused of killing them were arrested in January 2022 and have been in custody in Dolo military prison in the capital Kinshasa. Now the 6th man is on the run. The prosecution said the accused men were part of a criminal gang who, after killing the driver, had intended to hold Anastasio and his Italian bodyguard for ransom. Prosecutor Gode Kababa had called for the death penalty during the trial, which began in October. The defendants said their initial confessions were extracted through torture. Now, after the break, we return with international news. Stay with us. China's military carried out aerial and naval blockade drills around Taiwan on Monday, its last scheduled day of exercises, with the Chinese aircraft carrier joining in combat patrols of Taipei reported another surge of warplanes near the island. China announced the 3 days of drills on Saturday after Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen returned to Taipei following a meeting in Los Angeles with U.S. House of Representatives Speaker Kevin McCarthy. Now, China views democratically governed Taiwan as its own territory and has never renounced the use of force to bring the island under Beijing's control. In our next story, 2 bodies have been found after an explosion flattened a 4-story apartment building in southern French city of Marseille. Now, local authorities said 6 people remained unaccounted for and that rescue efforts were ongoing. The blast occurred in the LA Pine neighborhood at 12 midnight local time on Sunday. The cause remains unclear, but investigators are looking into the possibility of gas leak. 5 people from the neighboring buildings sustained minor injuries in the explosion, and around 200 people had been evacuated from their homes. Now, 2 nearby blocks particularly collapsed a few hours later, without causing any additional injuries. Now, on Monday, the mayor of Marseille warned nearby buildings are at risk of collapsing. After the break, we bring you local sports. Stay with us.
Ohole So Nice is an entertainment show brought to you by the youth for the youth. This is a dating show that allows individuals to participate and be their own true selves. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact Zone at synergy.com.na.
Backed by a vibrant crowd and roars, the men from Botswana defeated Angola 2-0 in an exciting, closely contested final match at the Zone Beach Volleyball Tour at the Mall Beach in Swakopmund. Now, the women's team from Botswana also clinched a victory against Angola 2-1 in an entertaining final match. The men's category, Angola was awarded a silver medal, while another team from Botswana took another team from Botswana was awarded a bronze medal. In the women's category, the team Angola won second place and Zimbabwe clinched third place. The three-day competition was hosted by the Namibian Volleyball Federation in conjunction with the Federation of International Volleyball and the Federation of African Volleyball Zone 6. The event saw a total of 31 teams competing from 5 different countries, namely Namibia, Angola, Botswana, Zimbabwe, and South Africa. In our next story, this year's edition of the two-day Nedbank cross-country Olympic Namibian National Championship races took place over the Easter weekend in Swakopmund was a sweeping success. Now, winners in the elite men's division, Alex Miller took first place with a time of 1 hour, 23 minutes and 41 seconds. Now, Monique Duplessis won first place in the women's division with a time of 1 hour, 26 minutes and 9 seconds. Winners of the elite men's category, Alex said that it was a tough race. The first lap was all about observing the pace. After the second lap, I started feeling a bit confident and decided to up my pace. When I saw that I was in the lead, I decided to keep it steady from there on. Now we get into our international sports. Israel Adesanya has pulled off a stunning knockout win over Alex Pereira to reclaim the middleweight crown at UFC 287 in Miami, downing the Brazil in the second round to avenge his only UFC defeat at middleweight. Adesanya wanted a quick rematch after a November loss to Pereira stripped him of a 84 kg championship belt he had held since 2019. Now at UFC 287 at the Kaesa Center late on Saturday, Adesanya dropped the middleweight champion Pereira with the two right hands, then raised his fist in triumph as he took back his middleweight championship belt and cemented his legacy as one of the greatest fighters in the sport's history. Ferrari Formula One driver Charles Leclerc has asked fans to respect his privacy after they keep turning up at the side of his Monaco apartment. Now, the 25-year-old, who had an exclusive watch stolen a year ago in Italy when he was approached for a selfie by two people wearing scooter helmets, posted a plea on his Instagram page. For the past few months, my home address has somehow become public, leading up to people gathering beneath my apartment, ringing my bell and asking for pictures and autographs, he said. While I'm always happy to be there for you and I truly appreciate your support, please respect my privacy and refrain from coming to my house. Now, Tiger Woods has withdrawn from the Augusta Master due to the injury, completing 7 holes in the third round. The 5-time Master champion said Woods, who was the last of 54 players to make the cut, was limping down the 17th fairway on a 6 over par through the 7 holes when play was called off on Saturday due to bad weather in Georgia. The 47-year-old American, who most recently won the Master in 2019, has struggled since a car crash in 2021 in which he sustained multiple leg injuries and required major surgery. After the break, we return with our highlights from today's broadcast.
Take a load off and tune into another episode of Brave Namibia as we take a look at both ordinary and extraordinary Namibians. Brave Namibia is broadcasted on NTV Saturdays at 6:30 p.m. and Oneuptwo.com, as well as broadcasted on the following Facebook platforms on Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. Republican, Allgemeine Zeitung, Namibian Sun, and all Namibia Media Holdings pages. For more information, contact the Brave team at brave@synergy.com.na. Brave Namibia for the ordinary and extraordinary Namibians.
Here are the highlights from today's broadcast. Some 44 people have been killed after two deadly attacks in northern Burkina Faso on Thursday. Officials have said the twin attacks happened in the villages near the Sahel region near the Niger border. China's military carried out aerial and naval blockades drills around Taiwan on Monday, its last scheduled day of the exercise, the Chinese aircraft carrier joining in combat patrols of Taipei reported another surge of warplanes near the island. Ferrari Formula One driver Charles has asked the fans to respect his privacy after they keep turning up outside his Monaco apartment. The 25-year-old, who had an exclusive watch stolen a year ago in Italy when he was approached for a selfie by two people wearing scooter helmets, posted a plea on his Instagram page on Sunday. And those have been our highlights. Remember to tune in every weekday at 1 o'clock to spend your lunch hour with NMH at 1, catching up on the latest news in Namibia, Africa, and the world, ranging from current affairs, economic news, sports, and international headlines. From all of us here in studio, happy Easter Monday.